Up next on Inside ChampCar, racing at Nelson Ledges. Welcome to Inside ChampCar. I'm Brian Bielanski, crazy looking guy with the like making driving race car stuff.
I was doing my little dance to the music.
Oh, is that your happy dance, Bill?
Yeah,
Oh,
because my
goodness
driving
gracious.
is much more serious, and yeah.
Is it really? I've heard things.
Kinda, yeah.
He's Bill Strong up there, and
Yeah.
and then
We have a special guest.
we do, and I'm very excited.
It's a first for us.
Which part is being? Our guest is special.
Yeah, we normally have peons.
Oh, okay, yes.
The little guys.
We've got a Veep. Is this
got
the
a
first
Veep.
Veep we've ever had on the show?
The Veep. Yes.
Wow.
And I want to say normally we have Porsche drivers and Porsche this and that, but we have a Ferrari hat owning Fred Wolfe.
Yeah, Fred Wolfe is here. Nelson Ledges, Vice President. How you doing, Fred?
Of the United States. Of Nelson Ledges.
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
We're great. We're really happy to have you on the show. I asked you. We'll get to the real question first, but I asked you before we went on the air, how long have you been at Nelson Ledges? And you said about 30 or 35 years, which means you might have been there when I was there last. So
Most likely. What were you racing, Brian?
back that was.
You were in a push pram, weren't you?
Oh, stop it. Dad was either at that time. It was either a spec racer, a sports Renault.
I remember it well.
Or it could have been an ITC Honda Civic. I'm not quite sure which one we had by the time we made our trip to Nelson Ledges. But we were considering doing the longest day, and then we did one race, and my dad said, I don't think we have enough invested in Loctite to be able to do 24 hours around this place.
It was a rough track.
It was.
It was a very rough track back then.
Yeah, so let's start with the question we always ask everybody, Fred. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch the show. If you haven't, this will come as a surprise to you. If you have, it will not come as a surprise to you. How did you get mixed up with this great sport that we love?
How did I get mixed up in this sport? Actually, I started going to real races in 1967 at the U.S. Grand Prix at Watkins Glen.
Okay.
I followed it, traveled down to Daytona, watched the 24, made a couple trips up to Mossport.
Oh, yeah.
And then I kind of got away from it and got into bicycling. And I was living in Garrettsville, where Nelson is located at the time. And I rode down the pretty steep hill on a race bicycle, all proud of myself that I topped 60 miles per hour on the downhill, which was really
that's insane. Yeah.
And
especially in the older bikes. Like, holy crap.
Yeah, it was, I believe the bike was a steel chromo Mozzie Italian bike.
Oh, sweet.
And I rode past the racetrack and I could tell something was going on. And I figured, why not stop in? You know, I'm wearing skin-tight Lycra.
Yeah, you'll fit it perfectly.
Yeah.
Perfectly. And John McGill was gracious enough or saw enough humor in me going in. But that's where this whole thing came about. I really haven't shaken Nelson Ledges yet, and I have no real desire to.
Now, you started out working there. You're not just watching, but then you started working it in flagging?
Yes, flagging on the motorcycle side. My first race flagging doing F&C was the 24 hours of Nelson, not to be construed with the longest day of Nelson.
So 24 hours on a bike, that's got to be crazy.
It was crazy. There's a lot of video on YouTube of the 24-hour bike race. It's absolutely hilarious. They had a Le Mans start to it. You had riders of all shapes and form on one side of the front straight, running over to their bikes, hopping on the bikes, and it didn't make sense, but they had some pretty damn good racing.
Now, was the pit lane when you started there? Was the pit lane dirt?
Was the pit lane what, Bill?
Dirt? Dirt?
No.
No.
Or was it paved? Okay.
No, it was paved at the time.
Well,
Although the timing
I would-
tower was different
Yeah.
and the start tower was definitely different.
I was reading the wiki about the track, and there's a mention in there that the pit lane was dirt at one point. Now we know that the pit lane was dirt on the other side. This is before you guys took over the track.
Yeah.
Was that one of the first things that you guys did was to pave it? Now, it was funny because there'd been I'd known people that had been going there forever, and they thought that was the coolest thing ever, that it was perfect, except when they put their, I think is it 10 foot? How wide is that thing?
How wide is the pit
How wide is the concrete pad?
the concrete pad, you're talking about the one on the
cold
side of the wall?
Yes.
7 feet. So.
Yeah, so I remember guys had 8 foot easy ups, and it was just like all they needed to do was put one more foot. but it was a huge difference because we raced there with lemons. First time I ever went to Nelson Ledges, and it was our second 24 hours of lemon race because I was super excited. I talked my guys into doing the I forget what they called it, but it was a long, the 24 hours of lemons longest day. And it started out really good until it started raining. And it was crazy. And
Bill,
flooded
was that a
2000
race with 140 some entries?
Yes. And
my God.
And there was no spot around, and they put a chicane down at the kink.
Yes.
To slow people down in there, so it just became one lane. And I remember thinking, this is a race. The first lap is green flag drop, and everybody's lining up in a line. I'm like, no. I went straight down and kind of pushed my way through, and I think by lap 3, those cones were gone. So it was good after that.
So
But
I'm surprised that by lap 3 it had all the cars on the damn track.
it was crazy, I'll tell you.
I was doing control for that race early on, and Jay Lamb was sitting upstairs with me, and I'm kind of a timing fanatic. I've done control enough that I want things to be on time.
Right.
And it was like 5 minutes till the green flag would drop. And there was no rush. There was no urgency. Yeah. And it's like, Jay, we only have 25% of the cars on the track. And let it shake out. When they get there, they get there.
Yeah.
A couple minutes later, Jay, it's time. We have to drop the green flag. We don't have all the cars out there. Don't worry about it. We'll throw the green once we get them all out. And by then, we had such a traffic jam in the pit lane waiting
I remember that.
on the track because there were so many cars out there that it was crazy. Then
it was so much fun. Oh my God.
8 minutes after 12 or whenever the start time was, okay, you can throw the green flag now. It's like, cool.
Yeah, and then it just turned into this madhouse. It was awesome. It was absolutely pure awesomeness.
So when there's 140 cars at Nelson Ledges, where do they all pit?
In your paddock. In your paddock. We didn't. I think did we change fuel? I can't remember if we did fuel in the paddock or if we did fuel on pit lane. We may have done it on pit lane.
I think the fuel was in the paddock.
Yeah.
Because there was racing going on in the paddock to get off and on the track.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think that was it. I think you could choose to do your fueling there or something. I don't remember. That was such a long time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But the paddock was insanely filled. I mean, to this day, I've never seen that many cars in that paddock. It went all the way everywhere.
It was crazy.
So
it was amazing.
So Fred, we've got the iconic racetracks in North America. We've got your Road America, your Watkins Glen, your Laguna Seca, and everybody holds those in great and high regard. But there are a few tracks like Nelson that are so just loved by drivers and teams. I mean, when I'm from the Midwest, I grew up in Wisconsin, and now I've lived in Atlanta. I now live in California, and when people talk about racetracks, they want to go to. Sure, they say those other ones, but the Nelson Ledges keeps popping up over and over and over again. Why is that?
To be honest with you, I think it's the way we're approaching the business. We're trying to do things right. Everybody in our organization has been involved in racing. You know how you want to be treated at a track. You go to so many racetracks and you're greeted, rather than having a welcome to wherever sign, you're greeted with a no pit bikes, no dogs, no children, unless they're on a freaking leash, that type of thing. If you want a golf cart, you have to have a permit for it. That's not us. We want people to have the latitude to do basically what they want. And if they're doing something stupid, we'll ask the people not to do it. And
Right.
we get people sitting on the tire wall. Hey, you walk over to them. It's really not a safe place to sit. Why don't you get down from there? And the people, I think they really appreciate that.
Yeah.
When we did the repave on the track, part of the agreement was that we wanted to keep the track as Nelson. We didn't widen the track. We didn't add banking or anything like that. So the basic layout that people are racing on today is the same layout that we've had since the advent of the carousel, which went in the 70s.
Yeah. Well, I got the same feel when I went to Hallett for the first time. Just a club track, a quintessential club track, and lots of people giving people hugs and really tiny and cozy and not a lot of flash, but just a lot of fun.
Yeah, our goal is to have Nelson to be a polished club racing track. We're not chasing the big boys. We're not chasing pit race 40 minutes away from Nelson. We're not chasing Mid-Ohio. They can do what they want. And we're doing really well catering to the customers that we have. My goal is to have everybody leaving the track at the end of the day with a shitty smile on their face.
That's
awesome. They had fun.
That's awesome.
Sorry. That's, you talk about the track. The track is over your shoulder there. You can see it up on the wall. And to me, I look at that and go, meh. How do they say on the internet? Meh. But driving it is totally different than looking at it from the top, because there is banking, there is decreasing radiuses, there is some off-camber banking. The carousel there is insanely fast. And then if you do that right, that back straight into the kink is probably one of the scariest places to go, because it kind of looks like a turn, but it's not one. But if you mess it up, it is one, and it's going to hurt.
It is, definitely.
And it's a hell of a track. And the braking, and some folks had said it's a great track, easy on the brakes. It is easy on the brakes, because I think the real place you use the brakes is into that, what is that, 12?
13.
Left-hander?
13, yeah. Yeah. No, the left-hander going in there, and you're hard on it, and then boom, you just make that car turn left and then turn right. Ran into a Mercedes there too. So
that left-right is such an important part of that racetrack, because if you don't hit those two properly, then you've got no speed going onto the main straightaway, and then the right-hander at the end of the pit lane straight is really important, because that's still kind of fast. I mean, it's not kind of fast; it's still very fast.
Right.
And then you need that little bit of speed to get through the next right-hander into that little horseshoe area. But yeah, that little left.
And if you screw that up, you end up off road. Ask Visceral Racing, flipping the car there because it happens.
Yeah.
And
But Dill, Visceral went over the tire wall.
yes, he
The
went
call
over
on
it.
that, the call on that with the corner workers.
Hmm.
The corner worker called in that the car went over the tire wall. So we're alerting the medical people, the record people, ambulance people, whatever. A car went over the tire wall. And then whoever was doing control asked the corner worker at 10 what was going on. Do you have a status on the driver? And the comment was, he's driving around the field outside the track.
Yeah, I was down there.
He launched it.
Yeah, I was down there. I ended up getting some pictures too. I was taking pictures and setting up a camera or fixing a camera for Paul, and just I watched him come in, and I watched him just a little. It was Steve. We've had Steve on the show, and we talked to him about that, and he said it was just like a pillow, like he landed on a pillow. So, but yeah, he just drove out of there and boom, done. So, but yeah, we had a car pass us on. It was a ChampCar race. We were doing the test day. Car decided to pass one of my drivers during the test day on the outside of the kink. Got 2 tires off in the grass, and ended up driving up the side of my car and flipping his E30 and turned it into a little box. They're already boxy, but this was just a more compact box when it was done.
Yeah,
he slid a long way on his window too. He got some on his arm was some skin rash. What do you call it?
Road
Asphalt
rash.
Yeah, road rash.
road rash.
Yeah, shook him up a bit, but I just remember there was a whole bunch of people standing in the observation area there, the hill that used to be there.
Yeah.
And I remember walking up and I just saw parts flying through the air, and I saw one yellow one fly. I saw yellow somewhere and red, a lot of red ones. And my car used to be red, the MR2, but it's now yellow. But the inside of the parts is still red. So I put the two together, and it's like, oh my God, my car's totaled. My car was involved, suspension break, but the BMW was just toast. And that was one of those things that it's like, you got to be really careful there, and you just can't go out there and just go balls out and just hang it all out.
That is a really difficult place for passing. Obviously, you saw that. But to see like Formula Atlantic cars pass one another there, where someone is on the left-hand side, right before you get to the crossover, it's a pretty ballsy move.
Yeah.
But to see it is beauty.
Yeah. And if that guy had pulled it off, it would have been great. But I think he panicked a bit because my guy had nowhere to go because he's just drifting out.
Yeah.
And there was contact, went up the side of the car, and yeah, it was pretty crazy. Everybody survived. Everybody. Well, he didn't get to race his car the next day, but
name the game.
One of the classic phrases coming out of drivers' mouths: "If I'd have pulled that off, it would have been great." If I had $1 for every time I said that, I'd be a racetrack owner.
Now we have had to pull the car out of the tires at Nelson Ledges while leading the race. We may not have been leading it while they were pulling it out of the car, but they're pulling it out of the tires. So for years, the biggest complaint with Nelson Ledges was the track is falling apart. I'm driving down it. I'm getting hit with stones and rocks and concrete. Same with motorcycles and stuff. Obviously, Brian purchased a track. You came on, and you guys did a hell of a job at paving it, getting it all fixed up. The whole bit. You brought in some new buildings to the track. You've rebuilt the tech shed. You're making changes, but people continually talk about those tires. Now I know because I follow Nelson Ledges on the socials. You guys are reconfiguring them and restacking them and moving them around to make things a little safer. Tell us a little bit about that.
Every year we do that. We're pushing tires back. We're getting rid of some tires as mandated by the state. We are making progress with the tire wall, but it's so easy for people to complain about the tires, whatever, when we have 4 miles of tires to deal with.
Has anybody ever counted them?
I think during some of the old longest day races, we estimated that we have around 3 million tires.
Wow.
So,
And I still get people to this day calling, asking me if we would buy some scrap tires from them. You use them at the racetrack. How many do you want?
Yeah,
I have
because
some for sale.
it'll charge
And
them
it's
$5 a piece to take them and have them recycled.
yeah,
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
that's insane. That's 3 million tires. That's just
So,
crazy.
so when the state asks you to take them away, what are you replacing them with?
We're not to that point yet. We
Okay.
have an abundance.
They
of
have
tires.
3 million of them, Brian. 3 million.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
It's a lot of tires.
Yeah, yeah.
And you get the people mentioning, well, why don't you wind up the tires and use it for a recreational running track or something like that, or they can be used for whatever, because all you're doing is grinding up the rubber.
Right.
Yeah, what do you do with the
People
steel?
aren't thinking there are steel
Kevlar.
belts in tires.
Yeah.
And a
Yeah.
lot of the tires that we have steel beads in the tires to hold them on the damn rims.
Yeah. So how are they are they melting them down and then separating the rubber from the steel? Is that how they would recycle that? I don't know.
I have no
don't either.
idea.
We need to send Brian to the How It's Made show.
Yeah.
They've actually showed that a few times. They grind them up. They use big magnets that come over, suck out that stuff.
Oh.
They have sifters and all kinds of crazy stuff. And then they put them on some football field so that girl soccer players can get cancer.
Oh. Well, there you go.
Oh, Bill, you're sick.
And I know that for a fact because my daughter's soccer, the whole bit. So it's but yeah, they recycle it and do
Right.
all kinds of crazy stuff with it.
Right.
But and I doubt they're going to do it with any of those tires because some of them, somebody just said, I think John Whitnauer said a bunch of them are old, like Model T tires. Now I've seen a lot of motorcycle tires out there. I don't think they're Model T tires.
There are some motorcycle tires there. No matter how many announcements you make on the PA that please do not leave your junk tires at the track. We don't want them.
Have
You'll
you ever
always
thought?
have somebody doing it.
Have you ever
So-
thought of putting like some of your old tires in other people's trucks? And say thank you for taking the
Believe it or
tires.
not, Bill, there's a federal law that prohibits you from carrying more than 5 scrap tires in a truck.
Oh, is it
Really?
really?
Yeah, and if you think about it, every time you see like a community cleanup day,
Yeah.
you're limited to like 4 or 5 tires. That's the reason for it.
Oh,
Huh. That's crazy. That's crazy. So you've seen this track over the last 30 years evolve.
Yes.
What do you like about where the track is today, and is there something you miss from the way it was in the past?
To be honest with you, the only thing that I miss from the past is the days of having 125, 140 cars at a regional SCCA event.
Yeah.
And a lot of that goes back to the somewhat of a waning of interest. More people are doing the simulators. People have a lot that they can be doing, that they can be spending their time on.
Right.
It's a lot that every organization has to really think about. Now we're getting more and more into the track day events,
Sure.
whether it be the 4-wheel stuff or the 2-wheel stuff.
Yeah.
And you're getting a lot of people coming out for that. And a lot of those people that you would think would want to go racing, they're kind of turning their back on it. So I think it's everybody's job to really promote racing. The people are out there. People are coming out for track days. People are coming out for time trials. People are doing a lot of autocross. But it's motivating those people up to get into something a little bit more challenging.
Yeah.
right.
But don't you think though there's a place for both? You know that when we try to convert everybody into road racers, sometimes you turn them away altogether.
I think there's definitely a place for both, but getting the interest with younger people to come out and do a low key race, that's definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
I really think the pecking order in this is that you have people doing time trials, you have people doing autocross. What's next for them?
Yeah.
You'd
Where
like
you
to see them getting into racing, and you're not finding that interchange of people getting into racing when they have one car, they're doing it on their own.
Right.
And that's where groups like ChampCar can really capitalize on this because you're getting more and more people uh, doing the ride and drive type program.
Yeah, and then you have the spreading of the cost between all the drivers, the crew,
Precisely.
and
Right.
all that stuff. So that's
Precisely.
really helped out a lot.
Well, and I
People
think
like Tim and John Wittenauer and the
Right.
Most Meant guys, they can go. The family can go racing.
right.
Whereas if it's just you, Bill Strong, man, this stuff's expensive.
Well,
Mhm.
and there's also a whole generation of kids now who in when I was a kid, at 15 and a half, you were like breaking the door open of the DMV to get your learner's permit.
Oh,
So that when you
definitely.
turn 16, you can go get your license. There's a bunch of kids now, and I'm not saying it's to each his own, but they don't have no interest in even getting a driver's license. So I think there's also a little bit of the love affair with driving is a little different for the younger generation than it was for our generation.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. And the cost of driving for the 16-year-old, the parents are going to be stuck with sky high insurance
Yep.
bills,
Oh, yeah.
premiums. Uh, and granted, a 16-year-old boy isn't easy on a car.
No.
Well,
Wait, I was so easy.
Neither is a 21-year-old, 22-year-old. I finally
Got
got
that
him
right.
off my insurance, and holy crap, I got money now, man.
Now you
I
can
got
go
money.
racing. Yeah, I was in my first accident like 3 weeks after I got my driver's license.
Yeah, mine was like 2 days.
Yeah, it's different.
So Fred, you're a track manager, VP, whatever. You're the boss. You or almost a boss. Brian's a boss, but you get to see absolutely killer cars show up to your track to do testing and promotional stuff. What is the coolest car that you've seen show up at the track in your mind?
I think the coolest experience was, man, I can't remember the guy's name. The father of the Viper. Um,
Oh, not
uh,
Lutz. Was it Lutz?
no, no. The guy that Herb Helbig.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He was out testing the Viper prototypes prior to SRT.
Mm.
It was, you're looking at something, I came out of a more traditional sports car type era. And I looked at the Viper and I thought, man, this is the closest thing to Harley Davidson I've ever seen. Popping the hood, looking at the EPA badge saying this engine conforms to a 10-liter platform. It's like, this is mind boggling.
Yeah.
And luckily, with the Viper group, the SRT group, they did real well.
Yeah, we actually
Ralph,
we actually have a few people that race with Champ Car that were part of that group
mhm,
at one point, worked in it at one point.
yeah,
Now, now you're also into motorcycles,
yes.
and you've got lots of motorcycle stories. They've done 24 hours there. Let's go back to that for a second. The 24-hour on a motorcycle, they do it as a team. It's not just one guy doing
Correct.
24 hours.
Correct. They would do a team, normally 4 to 5 riders, and those competitors, they were completely whooped.
Oh,
at the end of
sure.
the race. Like they were walking zombies.
Well, and motorcycle races are a little twisted in the brain to start with.
Yes. But it's a different type of mindset.
It is,
They're
absolutely.
strong, mentally different than we are.
Yeah. That's a nicer way to put it than what I said.
Yeah, they're wired differently.
I was working turn 5 at Road Atlanta for one of the big bike races, and we had a couple of really bad crashes there that weekend. And by the end of the weekend, we had another guy come in and did the whole flippy rolly thing. Woke up and he stood up, and you could see that the arm was twisting in an angle that it wasn't the right. And I lift up and he wants to get back on the bike, and I'm like, dude, you can't get back on this bike. Your arm isn't attached to your body anymore. At least that's what it looked like. And he's like, no, I'll be fine. And he swings at his arm. He's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't get back on the bike. I'm like, really? That wasn't your first thought? That was like your fourth thought? But yeah, the
focus, man, the focus.
Oh gosh.
No, on the bike side, it seems like the badge of honor is to, if you do have a crash on Saturday, let's say a broken collarbone, which is very, very common.
Yes.
Show up the track on Sunday with your arm in a sling.
Right. Yeah. And get on the bike.
On the bike side, I had a really neat experience. Years and years ago, this heavyset Southern accented gentleman walked over, and he made a statement which I interpreted as a question. His statement was, I hear you live around these parts. And it's like, yeah, I live around here. Can I help you? And he said, my boys like to go fishing at night. Where can they go fishing? Fishing. And I get emotional with this one. I'm sorry. The guy's name is Earl Hayden.
Oh.
Nicky Hayden's father.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. For those who might know, Nicky Hayden may be one of the finest motorcycle racers in the history of the sport.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was world champion in MotoGP.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. I just brought him up.
My wife was holding my hand. Out of here.
Yeah.
Well, we want Yeah, go ahead.
I get a little broken up when I think about that.
That's crazy.
But to have a world champion racing at your racetrack was really something.
Yeah. That's and he left us too soon.
Big time.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Yeah, it's just, we all have stories. You do this long enough and you run into people and you see glimpses of talent and expertise and then you have that in the brain is for the whole time. I mean, I was at the Mid Ohio once for the runoffs and saw this guy Graham Rahal racing a Formula Atlantic and winning a national championship at age 16 or 17. And there's a lot of people who are Graham haters, but just the nicest young man, and you could tell he was so talented. And it's like I got to see him win, and that's just pretty darn cool. So,
yeah, I can remember going to the Glen and watching his father early on.
Yep. So,
it's the people you meet in this business. I was at the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix in Shenley Park. And my wife at the time was talking to Sam Posey. Very, very, very articulate gentleman. Yeah. And he made the comment that he could have been at the Nürburgring German Grand Prix, but he chose to be at Pittsburgh for the vintage because these are memories for the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I love that phrase. Every time you're hung up on something that really means a lot to you, and it's something that you're going to constantly remember, they're memories for the bank.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's
And Nelson Ledges is like that for me, and I know for many many others out
yeah,
there. A lot of them that are on our show right now.
yeah. You know, it's interesting that we talk about some of the people we've met.
Yeah.
And in every group of 100 people, you're going to find 2 or 3 jerks. But for the most part, when we meet these people who are our heroes in this sport, or people who we meet when they're really young and they become heroes to other people, we're all everyone's cut from the same cloth.
Yes.
It's a family through and through,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really cool when you get a chance to. I spent some time with David Hobbs last year,
Yeah.
and just the sweetest guy. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like with a lot of folks, you just ask them one question, and an hour later they've answered that with a story, and then they've given you 4 or 5 others.
Yeah.
And we're all kind of the same people, and I think that's why we
Mm-hmm.
keep coming back, to the racetrack. It's not just about the cars; it's about people like you and Bill, and these are people who I want to spend time with, sometimes even more than my own family.
Yeah. Yeah. And like it or not, we've all given up a lot uh, with our families for us to pursue this sport
Yeah.
business, whatever it is.
Bill, we don't have a chance often to get a track manager on the show, so let's ask some track management type questions.
What do you do when Bill Strong walks in the room?
Run the other way, right?
Sir, show that restraining order why you shouldn't be on the track anymore.
No, I think that order is lapsed, Bill.
Darn it. So what are some of the challenges? I'm out here at Cow Club. We own Button Willow.
Yeah.
So I am fortunate to have a little knowledge that maybe a lot of folks don't have about how hard it is or what it takes to be part of running a racetrack. What are some of the challenges that you guys are facing to be able to? I mean, because gosh darn it, renting a racetrack is not a small proposition, and I know
No.
racetracks are trying to keep the prices down as much as possible. And I'm asking a question so that Bill's can stop answering this question to the rest of the ChampCar membership, so he doesn't have to ask the question. But what are the challenges that you guys have to keep tracks accessible from a monetary standpoint to clubs like ChampCar and SECA and other folks?
Um, I guess first you have to look at what your expenses are. Like it is a business. It's a passion, but it is a business. Um, you get people complaining about trucking their car
Mm-hmm.
in a diesel dually from Florida to Nelson, not realizing that we're cutting grass with a 18-foot mower on a tractor that's using diesel, and we're cutting 200 acres of grass
Yeah.
every week. Like there's an expense there. You look at any type of improvements that you're putting into the track. Um, you're talking a lot of money.
Yeah.
Nothing is really cheap.
Right.
Um, Paying for good quality people is an expense. Our corner workers, I don't think I have anyone that's worked at the track for less than 3 years. We're not
So
going through a lot of newbie type people. We're using a lot of people that have retired, people that are race instructors on the motorcycle end, and people that really enjoy the sport.
right.
And I know that's kind of drifting away from where you were
Yeah.
going, um, but everything is going up. Negotiating with ambulance companies, what used to
Ooh.
be $60 an hour right now, might be $200 an hour.
Yeah.
Cost on everything is getting crazy.
Yeah. Well, and and when you don't upgrade your facility, people want to people want to come to a place that's nice and maybe not fancy, but clean and not
Correct.
falling apart. And if you don't keep up with that, then people stop wanting to come. And if people don't
Hmm.
want to come, then they're not going to rent your track. So, it's kind of a
Exactly.
chicken and egg
Yeah.
situation. And
Exactly.
I mean,
um,
look at VIR. I mean, VIR in 2000 was just actually it was 99. I think it was a farm,
yep.
a
Yeah.
working farm with
Hmm.
everything grown over, and it's taken them a long time. Of course, they had this absolutely huge influx of money to get it to where it was when they first opened, but it's
Hmm.
taken them a long time to really get where they're at now. And it's not something they just continually keep doing improvements, which is what you guys are doing. You're just reinvesting that money.
Yeah,
And
we're looking at what we're faced with. We're working with property that was put in 1958. And in 1958, if you wanted to run an electric line underground, you ran the electric line underground, and if the light switch came on at the other end, you did a
it was
great
the way.
job.
Right.
But no one kept schematics of where these damn lines are.
Mm,
You know, every time we drop a bucket in the ground, you're hitting a gas line, an electric line,
right.
or a water line.
So then you got to hire the gas company or the electric company or someone to come out with their little wand that will tell you
Oh
where
yeah.
stuff is and where
Mhm.
stuff not. Because
Yeah.
God forbid you take your bucket into a gas line and you go kaplooey.
Yeah.
A, people get hurt, but B, that's not good for the headlines in the local paper.
Right.
Well,
And
I mean,
yeah,
this is a
definitely.
track. This is a track before 1958, before Marvin Drucker and John McGill ran the bulldozer around and carved it up. It was a potato farm.
Hmm.
So, do you still have potatoes popping up every now and then?
No.
Oh.
No.
And
No.
if he
So it was
did,
And,
a,
and
yeah,
the story with that, Marvin had it, I think he bought the potato farm, and his plan was to put in a housing subdivision. And Marvin, being Marvin, went to the township, county, whatever, and he said, "My plans for this area will be for a housing subdivision, but I want you to put in the roads." And public funding, they weren't about to go about that for a privately owned subdivision. And
right.
he said, "Fine, we'll turn it into a racetrack." And that's how the whole thing came about.
so
Yeah, they basically did it. There was no design plan, no $1 million study, and no $1 million contracts with architects or engineers or planners. They just drove the bulldozer around to make a 1 mile dirt course. And I'm reading
Basic,
this from an
basically.
article that's using some of my pictures on Grassroots
Hmm.
Motorsport
yeah,
from a bunch of years ago. But yeah, I mean, there's nowadays you have to get everybody's permission all the way up to almost the president, and then you get to cut then you get to break ground, and then by then you've still got probably many more lawsuits because you're going to kill some weed or turtle or
yeah.
Oh,
bug or something.
exactly. Exactly.
So Fred, lots of racetracks have come and gone, and a lot of times they go because people who live nearby, or usually it's people who've moved in after the track was built, which drives me nuts. It's like you
Yes.
move in next to an airport and then you complain that there's too much plane noise. It'd be one thing if the airport came in after you moved in, then you've kind of got a right to complain. But lots of locals don't always like what a racetrack means, what it means to the neighborhood, all that kind of stuff. Do you guys have any of those issues there?
Yes. We run into it occasionally. Going back to the original zoning meetings that we had with Nelson Township, uh, our request was to change the tax zoning from non-conforming residential, and I was under the impression that it was um, agricultural. It never was. It wasn't. But we wanted to change it to a new zoning laws of motorsports recreational. So we had to go through the whole zoning process, listening to the neighbors
Right.
talk. And they weren't all negative. We have a lot of support from the local neighbors. But one lady in particular, she came out and she was talking about having her lady friends from the city come out to the track or come out to her property, which bordered the track at one time, and they couldn't have tea in the afternoon because all they heard were those darn motorcycles. At that time, there was a short little Amish guy, I guess I can say that. And he was the head of zoning. And he had made the comment to the lady. He stood up like he might have been 5 feet tall, this long beard, kind of
Yeah.
a visual.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said, "Ma'am, when did you buy your home?" And she said, "Well, I've been living here for 5 years." And he said, "Were you not aware that there was a racetrack right next to your property?" And she said, "No, it was in the wintertime." And he said something like, "What in God's holy name were you thinking of when you bought next to a racetrack? I don't want to hear anything from you."
Yeah.
And speaking of the Amish folk, it's really interesting that they actually come out with their little scooters and their push scooters because they don't have anything motorized and their bicycles, and they watch the race with us with the horses.
Oh, big time.
The buggies.
The story with that, we were running, I think it was one of the ChampCar 24s, and seeing that I didn't need any sleep, I was working the gate, and 2 o'clock in the morning, 5 Amish guys, drunk on their butts, walked up. And their question was, "Do you sell beer?" "No, we do not sell beer." "Well, do you sell beer inside?" "No, we don't sell beer." "Were you looking for beer?" "Yeah, we'd really like some beer." So I directed them to friends of mine that had their motorhome parked on the hill overlooking turn 13. And I said, "Walk up to that big motorhome, ask for Art, and he'll give you beer." So needless to say, I went to bed. Following day, I'm riding by on the scooter or something. Art saw me, flipping me off. I knew what it was for.
That's hilarious.
But that's what makes Nelson Nelson.
Right.
We're having fun.
And
well, I'm also looking at the old pictures from the longest day, and I would say these are mid 80s because there's a 924 here, some Honda Civic CRXs,
yeah,
and IROC Zs. There's people that made like 2x4 covers for their pit lane. It's like things you would never see nowadays. Now, we did see them at the Lemons races in the early ChampCar days where people would do that kind of stuff, but you don't really see that anymore. I find that absolutely fascinating because that is low budget racing now.
Yeah.
None of this sticking your toolbox with the seats, the opera level seats and, the $3,000 easy ups and stuff. And
yeah.
I like that, the 2x4s with some tarps, draped over them and stuff. So I just find that just absolutely fascinating. And it goes back to something in this article that I was quoted by was that endurance racing for me is not just the driver against the other drivers.
Right.
It's the cars against the cars. It's the driver in the car. It's a driver in the car and the track that you're, the conditions, the everything is thrown at you. Hell, the conditions of the paddock that you have to go through. With that race we were there when it was just pure mud. We had to get back to our paddock, and it was it was a chore, but it was the experience, and it was just, you had to struggle. And when you got done, when you finished that race and you crossed that, you accomplished something. It's like Sebring.
Yeah.
You know, you go to Sebring to race the track. You're racing against other people, but you have to survive that track. And that's what I love about Nelson Ledges. It's just not the racing. It's every aspect of it. And it's tough.
The people that are working at the track, the staff, our hearts are in that racetrack. We had the one ChampCar event where we had that deluge of rain.
Yep.
And the puddling underneath the bridge was probably 8 inches deep.
I was over there. It was much deeper than that because Brian was down there with pumps trying to pump it away from the track, which was it was crazy because, you know, it's nothing is level out there.
Yeah.
So he would pump it, and you know it was coming back somewhere to get to that spot to get right back, but it worked.
The storm grates had water erupting out of it that was shooting up like 3-4 feet.
Well, it's still better than what it was when we went there the first couple of years with ChampCar and Lemons, where when it rained, that back straight was easily 10 feet underwater. I could be wrong.
We've put a lot of drainage, French drains underneath the track. That water is now exiting to the former swamp type land. Yeah. But we've cleaned out the creek that was back there. Yeah. And there's a pretty good even flow of water.
Oh, it's totally different now. I mean, I got there one year, and there's a big storm all week, and I camped. I picked the highest. I was the first one there. Brian Bartsey let me in early. I picked the hill, a hill in the middle of the paddock, and the highest point. Yeah, and I picked there, set up my camp, but there was water within 30 feet of us, 40 feet of us, but we watched it slowly recede. Then we went to bed, woke up next morning, and it was pretty much gone. It was still kind of on the track, but it was, on the back straight. But it was crazy. And then we go to race, and that was the one they told us, you're great. Just do not if you get off track, don't turn that steering wheel. You just keep going straight because you're going to dig in and flip it. But it was one of those tracks that once it did dry out, oh my God, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all about the experience and part of the experience. And somebody said the weather, and that is part of the experience. If you can survive everything it's thrown at you, it's awesome.
Any final questions before we let him go? Because we're coming up on an hour here.
Oh yeah, we're getting there. So I want to thank your wife, because I know you were really hesitant about coming on. Something about being camera shy, wanted in some 15 states or something. I don't know, but Fred and I talk all the time. It was great to have his wife call me up and say he will be on the show. I'm like, ma'am, who is this?
That's great.
My wife is like, who's that calling you? Nobody.
He did
it. He did it.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Working with you guys at ChampCar, my son and I did the NOLA event last year. It was a real ball. Working with Ray, yourself.
Read the script.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. So for those,
so we are going to Nelson Ledges this year.
I was just going to say, for those who have listened to this and are dying to go to Nelson, July 13th and 14th, it's going to be a 7+7, the summer showdown at Nelson Ledges, and you got to get your entry in by May 14th, because that's when the discount goes away.
Yeah. It'll be $1,300 is the entry fee.
Yep. For
14 hours of racing. We're running the full course, which is the only course now, right? You don't really have the short course anymore.
Yeah, we really don't have a short course anymore.
So we're running the Formula One Grand Prix highfalutin course at Nelson Ledges, and the summer showdown at Nelson Ledges, and it's going to be part of our Money Shift Racing Championship, which will include Nelson Ledges, some track at Mid-Ohio, Pittsburgh, and the winner will get all kinds of shiny prizes and all kinds of cool stuff. We're still working out the details. Part of it was sent out yesterday, but it's going to be a big event, and you have to participate in all the races to be part of the winner, to be a winner of all the shiny, happy stuff.
Cool.
But one of them is a dinner out with Fred.
Oh my God!
Nice.
I don't think so.
My wife is cooking.
The winner has to pay, though. The winner has to pay.
My wife is cooking.
Oh boy.
That's the payback.
The wife is cooking.
That's good.
As long as I get a T-shirt.
There you go. She's always at the teacher. Now, your wife works at the track too, right?
No, she kind of retired from the track a couple years back.
Okay.
Take care of the dogs.
Take care of the dogs.
Oh, yes, that's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
The dogs.
So
she would always ask me for the shirt off my back.
there you go. There you go. One
That's
thing.
her.
Oh, I want the shirt off your back.
Before we let you go, Fred, just to go back to your drunk Amish fans, if your referendum ever goes up to a vote to get that zoning change, you've got 5 votes from them. So you took care of that. Good customer community relations.
Oh, that would be good.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
That
Fred-
would be good.
Well,
Anyway,
thanks, Fred.
Yeah.
You've now made us famous. Thank you very much for that.
Very
You're
nice.
welcome, Bill. You're welcome, Brian. Great chatting with you guys.
Yeah.
And great stories. We'll have you back on again. We'll talk
Definitely.
about old timey days because I know you're getting up there in age.
Bill, you're supposed to be nice to our guests.
I am. I think it's awesome. This is finally we have
It'll
somebody.
take them 3 months to do it.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
they
yeah,
got me into this stuff.
That's all of it. So it's awesome to have somebody that's older than me on the show. So thank you.
He's not older than you, Bill.
Wait.
No. Okay, guys.
All right.
All right.
Keep
Thanks,
down.
Fred.
Thanks,
You know it's
Fred.
past your bedtime.
Fred-
Thanks, man.
Fred
Thank
Wolfe,
you.
the vice president of Nelson Ledges. Appreciate you being on. A lot more stuff to come here, Bill. We got some things to talk about, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Fred's a hoot, man. He's we talk a lot about racing and just I'm down. He notices that something's up with me, give me a call and there we go.
Yeah.
He gives me a call and boosts me back up again, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
He's helped us out in a ton, and they've given us a heck of an offer on the weekend with our Nelson Ledges races.
Great.
So that's why we're able to go back, and we really want to see a turnout there because 2024 is going to be a little different when it comes to how ChampCar does races. So if you don't show up to the races, might not do them again. So,
Well,
one
I
of
mean,
the-
it's like Fred said, running a racetrack is a business. Running a race series, if you don't run it, even though it's a membership organization, if you don't run it like a business, you don't have a membership organization. So
yeah.
You
So
know.
funny story is, yesterday we sold out 2 races.
yes,
Started off the day with we had the one of them sold out, and somebody posted up, "Hey, it's great to see ChampCar finally getting a race in the black." And I'm like, wait.
lots
I
of
messaged him
ChampCar races
offline.
are in the black. Not all of them.
I let him know that the last 7 races we've only had 2 that lost money.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very much money.
Right.
So yes,
Well,
and
that's how you run a business, folks. For those of you who might not have, you have projects that make money, and sometimes you have projects that don't make as much money. And it's at the end of the year, you want to make sure that the goes intos are bigger than the goes outas.
Yes. And that's hard for some people to understand. Not too many, but we Chelsea has put in a lot of changes that have really helped this company.
Right.
There's still ongoing things that we're doing, and she's kicked some butt, man.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing a video. We're going to bring back the red flag videos, and she's going to be on screen talking about some changes and some things that she's not going to change.
Yeah.
And it's going to be pretty cool. But we've been. When I say we've been busy, that's kind of an understatement. It's been a hard road back.
Yeah.
And it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
But
John
it's tough.
Wittenauer reminds us that the board of directors election ends in 2 days. So if you have yet to vote, or if you're from Chicago and you'd like to vote early and vote often, I'm sorry. That's the old
that's
Chicago.
all right.
That's the
kind of
Chicago
my
boy
job.
in me.
Tiffany and I have to go through those, and we vet every single one, make sure nobody's voted multiple times, and
Yeah.
that everything's kosher and they're proper members and the whole bit.
Yep.
So yeah.
But if
And
you haven't
it's-
voted, there's still a couple days. So
Yep.
get your
and it's
stuff in
been
there.
off the hook this election. It's been I want to say it's more in line with our the type of elections we've had the last few years. It's not one of those friendly, happy-go-lucky elections. This one's been tough.
All right.
But yeah, Jimmy. Yeah, it's been a tough election, but it's coming up to an end, and we will. So after I'll stop the election at midnight Eastern on whatever time thing.
Will you be able to stay up that late?
Oh yeah. I had set alarm.
I know it's past your bedtime.
And then on Monday morning, I'll start counting, and Tiffany will have the same product. She'll do it, and then we'll compare. And
Right.
it's kosher.
Cool.
And then send it off to the board with the final results, and they will. I'll make an announcement. Somebody will make an announcement. I think it's me. I almost forgot. Yeah, I was supposed to do some stuff for the lead up to the election, and I forgot.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's that's going on. We've got VIR this weekend.
Yep.
At Virginia International Raceway. We're running on the North Course. 60 cars. It is a sold-out race.
Yes.
But there is a wait list started, so there is a test day beforehand, so people start dropping out. Most likely you'll get in. And I'll bet you Chelsea will find a place for you. That's a big pit lane. It's a, I think, 2 mile, 2.5 mile, something like that course. But it's a fun track on North. You don't get to do the oak tree or the S's or stuff like that, but there is the hog pen and the roller coaster, that long straightaway, and that really badass turn one.
Yes.
So, but I like the S's at the bottom, the bottom S's. I think those are fun.
Nice.
It's just paying off that curbing.
Sure.
Waiting for that Z20. I got asked to drive the Z28 this weekend. Unfortunately, I got to work.
Oh.
Yeah, we have to, we have to be careful now because as a proper company, there's always that conflict of interest stuff that we have to fall under. So we're looking, we're really seriously looking at how we conduct ourselves as employees at tracks. And
got it.
I don't want to interrupt somebody else's race because I tapped their bumper, set them off. So
unless they gave us bad comments on the podcast.
Yes.
And then all bets are off.
Yep. And Sebring.
Yes.
So that sold out, but we opened it up. We talked to the track. They said 100. So we are good to 100 entries.
Nice.
And I believe the last time I looked, there were 4 spots left. So Sebring New Year's, that's 8+7.
Very
that
cool.
is going to be a wild place. It seems like every big gun in the country is going there. We got Riley. We got Huggins. I'm told Huggins is trying to win that one.
Right.
I guess everybody's trying to win it, but Huggins really wants this one bad. So,
well, there you go.
But yeah,
that should be fun.
So we got New Year's, and we just opened up the registration for next year's races. That's the 2024. If you're watching this in 2025, it'd be last year's races. But the 2024 events, we're watching those. We've already got, I think, 13 signups for Atlanta already.
Great.
So the early pay discount ends on December 5th. So you need to get in. And I want to give a shout out to my little sister, Angela. And she didn't, I don't know if she knew that we did this show, but she just discovered it today and thinks she might be watching. Hey, sis. That's
very cool.
That's my one back in Oklahoma. But it's going to be a fun week for us this weekend. We go to PRI as well. So we opened up PRI we got an invite from the folks there to attend the Indy PRI. And
nice.
They have to be ChampCar members. You still have to pay, but you get a invite in.
Sure.
But Chelsea and Ray and I will be there. Ray's got a bunch of meetings with a bunch of safety folks. I've got meetings with some operations folks, and we're going to talk with the SCCA about some tech stuff and kind of see how they're doing things, and so we can get on par with, kind of work things out. And,
Well, I'm a true believer in if all the organizations at least have a friendly relationship. There are things that we can do together that can save people money, that can make the sport safer, that will make it easier for ChampCar cars to go race in SCCA and back and forth, or other organizations too, not just the SCCA.
Yeah.
But
and then we've been working with Flagtronics for many years now, and I see that that's becoming a more mandatory thing next year with the SCCA. So it's
the whole mandatory word is one that we don't like to use.
Required for the majors or something.
Well, it's going to be available. The mandatory requirement part of it probably won't come till 25. Is my guess.
I think they're using the same
they are.
path that we use because it worked. I mean, it becomes a competitive advantage, and it's going to be one of those things that you're going to want to have to stay competitive.
Right.
And it's just another tool that works really well.
It does.
We will have Flagtronics available at VIR this weekend. If you have raced with us the last couple of races, the firmware is the same, but if you haven't, you're going to need to update the firmware. You can either do that through the device manager, which is available through the flagtronics.com/ChampCar. Look at the downloads tab, click that, and then you'll see device manager. Download that, plug your FT200 into it, and it should pop up with automatically updating it. If you have a really old one, I think prior to serial number 215, then you'll have to do some extra steps, and it will tell you what you need to do. But if you have problems, Bill Strong and our other Flagtronics employee or staff or ChampCar staff that are familiar with Flagtronics will be at the track Friday, and we'll be able to help you get that sorted out. So don't fret, but you guys need to start doing that yourself, because next year, we're still going to help you, but you're going to have to do this yourself because we have a lot of work we have to do.
Well, and if you're an SCCA Super Tour driver who's going to be at VIR this weekend, the same Flagtronics unit you'll buy at VIR will work for the Super Tours.
And the same at Sebring, because I guess Sebring, our New Year's Eve race, a couple of weeks later, there's a big SCCA event.
There is. It's our first opening round of the Super Tour.
Yes. So I know that we have, again, why did we sell out a December double race?
Oh, I know why.
These guys went track time.
Yeah.
So
because they can do your race. The next weekend is Homestead, and then the weekend after that is back at Sebring. So if you are a northern a snowbird racing nut, it's a 3 races, 3 weekends of a chance. And if you might still be married in the last weekend in January when you get home.
Well, there's also a lot of Canadians that come down too. The snowbirds come down, and they race up there, and they come down south, and they go racing down there.
Exactly. So it's 3 weekends back to back if you do your race and then the Homestead race and then the
which is perfect. I don't see any issues with that.
I don't either.
Likes it when I've gone that long. I mean,
I don't either. So and I will be at the last Sebring race. So I'll come and buy me some fried alligator.
Oh, in January?
Yep.
I might go down there. Who knows?
It
may be snowing up here, and I may want to go down south.
There you go.
Cool. All right, man.
Anything else? Are we out of here?
That's it. We are out of here. We, like I said, we're at VIR this weekend. We'll be back next Tuesday for a show, and I don't know who our guest is, but we'll have somebody.
That's going to do it for another episode of Inside ChampCar. Did you like what you heard and saw? Subscribe to the podcast or the YouTube channel so you won't miss any episodes. It would be great if you'd share it on your social media channels. Comment on the ChampCar Facebook page. New episodes every Tuesday on the YouTube and then Thursdays on the podcast. He's Bill Strong. I'm Brian Bielanski. Have yourself a great week and go play with cars. We'll see you later.